I was on my knees in the dust-brown strip I dared to call a garden, propping a tomato seedling up with a popsicle stick when the quiet Saturday afternoon cracked open. The shrill purr of a big block V8 rolled down Sycamore Drive. I lifted my head just as a bubblegum pink 1959 Cadillac swam into view, tail fins glinting like chrome sharks. The Cadillac stopped next door. The driver's door popped and out stepped Victoria Hayes. Vicky to everyone except junk mail envelopes. 57. Widow. Keeper of the neighborhood's wildest roses and possessor of an energy level that scared leaf blowers. She pushed her sunglasses up and scanned my yard with a half-smile, half-audit look that made me straighten my spine. "Kid, are you even 18? She called. I wiped soil across my jeans, rose, and tried to match her confidence. "Actually, I'm 23. Vicky's brows climbed. "Well, 23, your tomato looks like it wants emancipation." She pointed her pruning shears at the sagging plant. "Need a hand?" Inside my chest, something unlatched. I'd moved to Tucson 3 months ago to film desert monsoons and finish a documentary nobody had funded. Mostly, I'd filmed my empty checking account. I laughed. "I'll take any tips." Vicky marched over. Up close, I saw silver strands threaded through her auburn hair, but her grin felt younger than mine. She clipped away a dead leaf with surgical precision. First rule of gardening and life, cut what drags you down. Second, if you own a classic, Gardening War and the Cadillac reveal, never let the hoe see it at idle. Mrs. Lois Lewis appeared, clipboard ready. Vicky waved. "Morning, Lois." Lois raised the clipboard. "Remember noise ordinances, Victoria?" Vicky bowed. "Always." Vicky clicked her shears shut. "Help me tame my backyard jungle and I'll teach you how to keep tomatoes alive." "Deal." My phone buzzed. A message from Jazz. College friend turned barista and guerrilla photographer. "Mark brunch. Bring the camera." I typed rain check. "Met interesting neighbor." Jazz replied with eye roll emojis. I nodded to Vicky. "Deal." Vicky's yard looked like someone had mixed Jurassic Park with a flea market. Citrus trees elbowed rusted wind chimes. Cactus paddles leaned over boxes labeled Frank's Vinyl. "Do not sell." A battered Route 66 sign hung on the shed. She caught my stare. "Frank bought that on our honeymoon. We meant to drive the highway when he retired." Her voice softened. "Cancer hates plans." I opened my camera app. "We could scan that sign, add motion graphics, maybe layer your voice over it. People love seeing memories move." She smirked. "Ever stop pitching? Because if I don't film something meaningful, soon my student loan company will start sending leg breakers." Vicky laughed and tucked the photo into my shirt pocket. "Fine, co-producer." Just then, the mailman Manny pedaled up on his electric trike, a stack of parcels strapped to the rear. He waved an envelope. "Miss Hayes got that carburetor gasket you ordered." Vicky frowned. "I didn't order one." Manny scanned the label. "Address says Victoria Hayes or whichever dreamer refuses to scrap the pink Cadillac." He shrugged. "Guess you have a secret supporter." She handed it to me like a hot potato. "Add mystery benefactor to the credits." Noah texted a selfie from the firehouse. Him watching the forecast map. Thumb up. Caption. "Mom's having fun. Keep her busy, rookie." I typed back a shot of my muddy boots. "Roger." We hacked at vines until my shirt clung with sweat. A red pickup skidded to a halt out front and a siren chirped. The playful kind. Noah Hayes, 30, firefighter, hopped out. "Mom, kidnapping interns again." Vicky tossed him a glove. "Volunteer, not victim." No, I'd me like a background check. Name, Daniel Brooks. Occupation, filmmaker in progress. He cracked a cooler. Passed lemonade. Vicky spoke of HOA trouble and backyard film night polishing the Cadillac, driving a stretch of Route 66, filming it to prove horizons don't expire at 50. Noah's smile held worry. "Car needs work. Brakes are temperamental." Bash shrugged. "So are my knees." A sprinkler-headed bump chose that moment to erupt, drenching everyone and Mrs. Lewis's Beonius. Vicky's laugh rang bright. Mrs. Lewis stomped over. "Water restrictions exist." "Accident," Vicky said. Lois scribbled. "And park that dinosaur before dusk." When she left, Noah checked his watch. Station needs me. Thanks, D. She's been lonely. He drove off. Before Jazz arrived, I helped Vicky drag 3 broken lawn chairs to the curb. Under one cushion, I found a faded Polaroid of Vicky and Frank in front of the same Cadillac, both wearing paper crowns from a roadside diner. Vicky studied the picture, her thumb sliding gently across Frank's grin. For a second, the busy gardener vanished, and a younger woman missing her travel companion stood in her place. Cleared my throat. We could scan that animate the sparkle in his crown. People will feel the journey. She smirked again, but softer this time. Just then, a gust of wind flipped at tarpaulin, revealing a set of antique hubcaps. Vicky's eyes widened. Frank collected these for years. She grabbed one, traced the emblem. I never had the nerve to install them. Maybe it's time, I said. She inhaled, nodded as if signing a private treaty. Fear pretends to be practical. Frank planned everything. I planned nothing. That's safer but smaller. Thunder rumbled. In Tucson, that meant monsoon teas. Vicky tilted her head, letting the first fat drops strike her palms. Rain on a desert Saturday. Good omen. My phone buzzed again. Jess. Storm cells forming. Picking you up in 10. Lightning for filmmakers. I glanced at Vicky. She read the conflict. Go, she said, tossing me the Cadillac keys. Roof's wide enough for a tripod. Be home before the HOA hunts at dusk. No one has trusted me with anything this classic. Drive. Just trust me. I dashed to the gate. Jazz's Civic honked up the street. As I slid in, clutching the keys like talismans. She raised an eyebrow. Since when do you valet for Barbie cars? Long story. I grinned. Hit the highway. I'll explain over thunder. As we sped off, I looked back. Vicky stood amid tangled vines, face to the sky, laughing as lightning stitched white seams across the clouds. A bigger film unfurled in my mind. A road, a dream. 2 generations refusing smallness. At 23, Brave suddenly felt reachable. I woke up Sunday to the unmistakable clang of Vicky's garden gate, ramming a trash can. Through the blinds, I spotted her wielding a machete-sized looper like a Valkyrie in denim overalls. Vines fought back, slashing green arcs across the morning light. Jazz, who had crashed on my couch after our storm-chasing sprint, peeked over her coffee mug. Your neighbor's auditioning for a jungle movie, she whispered. Second episode, I said, working title, The Garden That Hated Everybody. Vicky greeted us with a crisp salute. Gear up. The kazoo declared war at dawn. I grabbed gloves. Jazz slung her vintage Nikon, and we entered the chaos. Cactus paddles bristled like rebellious shields. Orange extension cords snaked under weeds. The Manny pedaled by hollering. Vicky, you ordered a flamethrower yet? She shot back on back order. Manny while we hacked. I filmed B-roll. Jazz's lens fogging. Vicky's laughter spiking over birdsong. My own grunt soundtrack. Each vine snapped like a bad guitar string. Vicky paused beside a rust-fleck bird bath. Frank planted those mysterious. Said they'd give the yard romance. I let them go wild. Couldn't cut something he loved. Her voice turned brittle at the edges. I lowered the camera. Sometimes we hold chaos because it's the last piece we have. She nodded. Throat Route 66 kickoff. Popsicle and the biker crew bobbing. But maybe it's time to prune. Breathing out, she sliced a trunk as thick as my wrist. Sap bled amber. Sunlight poured through the new space like permission. Noah rolled up in his red pickup, fire department logo glowing between dust streaks. He hopped down in turnout pants and a grin. Morning, jungle crew. He eyed the garden hose coiled at my feet, then smirked. A real hose has a bit more kick. Before I could protest, he unlatched the truck side compartment, dragged out a small training line, and connected it to Vicky's outdoor spigot. Noah, Vicky warned, but he opened the nozzle. A fountain rocketed skyward, arcing clear over the fence and drenching Mrs. Lewis's begonias next door. Mrs. Lewis stormed onto her patio. Hi, Rhett. This is not SeaWorld, Vicky shouted. Free hydration service. The whole yard cracked up, even Jazz, whose camera clicked like clapping applause. Mrs. Lewis jabbed her clipboard. Another citation, Victoria. Noise, water misuse, and willful flamboyance. Vicky bowed theatrically, guilty of the last, always. After Lois retreated, muttering about bylaws, Noah shut the hose off. He ruffled Vicky's hair, then studied me. You good guarding her optimism? I've got lenses and duct tape, I said. Close enough to armor. He flicked me a thumb drive. Station footage of neighbors dousing brushes during last year's wildfire drill might spice up your documentary. Then he was gone, tires squealing like a cymbal crash. By noon, we'd uncovered an entire patio Vicky forgot existed. Cracked red tiles, a wrought iron table, and a stack of milk crates labeled Route 66 cassette mixes 89 to 94. I wiped sweat. These deserve a comeback. Vicky tested a cassette on my pocket recorder. Static. Then Frank's baritone. Half sung, half shouted, filled the air. Get your kicks on Route 66. She closed her eyes. Jazz. Ever hunting moments. Snapped a photo that hummed with nostalgia. Vicky opened them again. Determination replacing haze. Daniel, I want to make a short film not just about the car, but about finishing what Frank and I started. A trailer that says dreams age but they don't retire. World premiere on the driveway. I said inflatable screen, folding chairs, popcorn machine borrowed from the church. We'll need buy-in from the neighbors, Jazz noted, browsing her shots, especially Queen clipboard. Vicky cracked her knuckles. Then we give her a role she can't refuse. Mid-afternoon, Manny returned with a certified letter. Vicky signed, brow furrowing deeper with each line. Lois filed a formal complaint to the HO. Remove non-operational vehicle within 10 days or face towing fees. Jazz whistled low. I expected Vicky to crumple, maybe curse. Instead, her mouth twitched upward. Good pressure. Deadlines birth art. She slapped the letter into my hands as if it were a film permit. You've got 9 days to turn a Cadillac into a co-star. A gust tossed dust through the patio arches, slamming a crate lid shut. We all jumped, then laughed at ourselves, nerves jangling like wind chimes. Evening painted the sky apricot. We gathered on my porch steps, lemonade refills in hand. Jazz reviewed footage on her laptop. Vicky mapped tasks in a spiral notebook. Monday, power wash chrome. Tuesday, storyboard montage. Wednesday, convince Manny to cameo. I asked, what's your biggest fear, Vicky? Radiator meltdown in Tucumcari stagnation. She replied without blinking. Growing moss while thinking I'm growing roots. What's your biggest hope? Jazz asked. Vicky gazed at the Cadillac. Its fins catching the sunset like rose gold sails. To feel wind past those antennas. And no Frank would laugh at my driving. She turned to me. Your fear. I swallowed, making films nobody sees. Speaking into voids. Hope that the right story finds its audience before my student loans find me. Vicky touched my shoulder. Let's bet on each other, kid. At that, a hiccup of an engine backfire echoed down the street. We looked up to see a homemade go-kart sputtering by, piloted by an 8-year-old named Cody, cape flowing, dog riding shotgun. He waved, then swerved into Lois's curb garden, decapitating petunias. Lois burst out again, brandishing a flashlight like a saber. Hooligans. Vicky leaned toward me. Add him to the cast list. Every great film needs comic relief on wheels. Jazz typed, Go-Kart Kid, Impact Character, Chaos Agent. We laughed so hard I spilled lemonade over my sneakers. Night settled. Crickets tuned up. Jazz packed her gear, promising to sync dailies. Vicky headed home but paused beneath my porch light. Remember 9 days? She jangled the Cadillac keys. Dreams waiting. As she disappeared into the dark garden, I felt the weight of a quest forming. Equal parts rust, film grain, and something that glowed when she talked about Frank. Inside, I spread Noah's wildfire footage across my editing timeline, splicing it with today's jungle war and Cody's heroic crash landing. The chaotic montage beat in rhythm with Vicky's machete chops. Near midnight, my phone buzzed. No, it Jazz's nickname autocorrect. Upload sequence looks fire. Mrs. Lewis cameo gold. I texted Vicky. Rough cut tomorrow. Sleep optional. She replied instantly. Dream editing prune fear water hope screen light dimmed. Outside somewhere in the tangle we'd only half tamed. A winds he struck 3 tentative notes as if rehearsing for the symphony ahead. I closed the laptop and whispered into the hush. Challenge accepted. Sunday night vanished beneath a mound of storyboard sketches. But sunrise found me hammering an open-air premiere tonight sign into Vicky's front lawn. Jazz emerged from my hatchback wearing a baseball cap that read Crew of 2. Clutching a portable projector like a newborn. Vicky bounced across the driveway with the caffeine of someone who'd already downed 3 espressos. She brandished a tray of lemon bars. Bribes for the audience, she said. Sugar levels equal forgiveness levels. Inside the garage the Cadillac gleamed. Jazz and I had spent half the night polishing fins until our reflections looked like nervous ghosts. Vicky inspected the half-attached hubcaps. Frank once said, "Every wheel deserves a crown. Let's hope his crown stay put at 30 m an hour." Or during applause, I said, "We spent the afternoon transforming asphalt into a cinema." Manny donated a string of postal truck hazard lights which we draped in scallops across the hedge. Cody, the go-kart kid, showed up towing a wagon of folding chairs he'd borrowed from his dad's church basement. In exchange, Jazz mounted a GoPro on his helmet. "If you crash again," she warned, "point the camera away from Lois's flowers." Vicky's list of cameos had ballooned. Manny's mail route montage. Noah's fire drill footage. Cody's slow him a wipe out. Even Mrs. Lewis appeared twice. Clipboard raised like a medieval shield. Jazz and I had trimmed it all into 5 tight minutes, but I worried the neighborhood would see a prank, not a love letter. A blue sedan rolled up, Lois herself. She stepped out, lips pursed so tight the desert air seemed to shrink around her. In her hand, no clipboard, but a casserole dish. Vicky hurried over. "Join us tonight." Lois thrust the dish. "Tuna noodle. If you're determined to gather a crowd, at least they won't starve." She eyed me. "Keep volume under the city limit or I bring the meter." Vicky winked. "Well, be gentle." Lois sniffed and Kitty's paw-print garage rescue drove off, leaving a faint smell of resignation. Or maybe tuna. Dusk draped the cul-de-sac. Jazz aligned the projector. I balanced the inflatable screen between 2 sagging palm trees. Vicky hovered, fussing with string lights. "Remember," she whispered, "if the crowd hates it, smile bigger." "Rule 4 of indie film," I answered. Noah arrived in uniform, fire engine idling at the curb like a VIP limo. Several off-duty firefighters jumped down, setting up cones. Safety first, cinema second. Noah squeezed my shoulder. "Break a leg, Spielberg." Cody zipped circles, helmet cam blinking. Manny passed popcorn in repurposed mailbags. Retired couples shuffled in with lawn chairs. Even Lois returned, meter in hand, but she settled in the front row center like royalty, expecting tribute. Vicky dimmed the garden lights. I hit play. Frank's voice crooned over a slow fade-in of the Cadillac grill catching sunrise. "Get your kicks," the crowd murmured. A quick montage followed. Vicky's machete battle, Noah's host stunt, Manny's gasket delivery, Cody's petunia massacre. Laughter rippled exactly where we'd prayed it would. Halfway through, the tone shifted. Jazz had layered Vicky's soft narration over black and white stills of Frank and Vicky on their wedding road trip. "We thought 40 years was forever. 40 is just a good start if you keep driving." A hush settled. Even Cody's go-kart engine ceased its metallic coughs. The climax landed. Vicky spinning the Cadillac keys toward camera. Freeze frame on the gleam. My voice over promising Route 66. 3,000 miles of proof that dreams don't age. Fade to white. Silence 2 heartbeats too long. Then Noah clapped loud and clean. Manny whistled. Applause swelled like monsoon rain on a hot sidewalk. Vicky gripped my hands so tight I felt pulse beats through her gardening gloves. Only Lois hadn't moved. She adjusted her glasses, gaze locked on the blank screen as though still watching a ghost. I stepped forward, swallowing desert dryness. "Mrs. Lewis, volume acceptable." She met my eyes. "Volume fine." She cleared her throat. "That pink boat of a car still violates Article 7. Section 2. Collective groan bubbled. Lois raised a palm. However, Article 9 allows temporary exemption for community cultural events. She inhaled. Your film counts. You have 90 days. Vicky exhaled a laugh that sounded like a popped champagne cork. The crowd cheered. Lois handed me the meter. Keep this. If you plan sequels, you'll need it. She turned but paused. Frank tuned those engines himself. Sounded better in person. Then she slipped away into darkness. Clipboard forgotten on her chair. Celebration ignited. Jazz cued a playlist of Route 66 classics. Firefighters strung an extra hose overhead, misting the street, so kids danced in desert rain. Manny projected postal emojis onto the side of his trike. Cody tried to jump the curb. The GoPro captured a perfect slow roll crash and rapturous applause. Vicky and I retreated to the Cadillac's hood like conspirators. She pressed her palm to the chrome. Tonight felt like opening a time capsule and finding it still beating. I slid the meter into my monsoon chase and ukulele skate jam jacket. We've got 90 days and a cheering section, plus one cautious ally. She looked toward Lois's porch light. Never thought she'd bend. Stories rearrange people, I said. Vicky considered that. Then let's keep telling the right one. She faced me square. Tomorrow we register the car for travel. Day after we map the first leg, Tucson to Gallup. My stomach somersaulted. I've never taken a car older than me across state lines. First time for everything, partner. A horn beeped. Noah leaned out the fire engine window. Daniel. Mom. Emergency dessert at the station. Cinnamon rolls from Paula's bakery. Get in before rookies inhale them. Vicky jumped down. Cheeks glowing, road flare bright. You drive, she told me, tossing keys. I froze. Right now. Right now, she echoed. The Cadillac rumbled awake. Engine note deep and eager. I slid behind the wheel. Jazz clambered onto the back seat. Laptop open. Still harvesting reactions. Noah led the way. Red strobes spinning a carnival of light over stucco walls. We cruised Sycamore Drive at a majestic 15 miles per hour. Neighbors waved. Phones filming. Cody gave chase on his rebuilt go-kart, now sporting training wheels. Mrs. Lewis stood on her porch, arms folded, yet a faint curve teased one corner of her mouth. At the intersection, Vicky lowered the window, wind teasing silver hair strands. How's 23 feel at the helm of 59? Like tomorrow's arriving faster than the speed limit. She laughed. Then keep your foot on gentle dreams, prefer scenic routes. We turned on to Maine. Desert air warm as fresh bread. Cinnamon rolls waiting somewhere ahead. And beyond them, a ribbon of highways stretching all the way to Chicago. 90 days among countless miles. Somewhere in that span, I would finish a documentary, earn back my faith, maybe prove that youth and experience are just different octane fuels powering the same unstoppable engine. But for this block, this moment, I was a filmmaker whose movie had found its first audience. A driver cruising beside a woman teaching me how not to stall dreams. And a passenger called Hope sat humming in the back seat. Window down, hair on fire, singing every lyric to a song older than all of us, but still charting new territory. I slept in my jeans with a map spread over me like a paper blanket, and still woke before dawn, heart hammering louder than Vicky's old alarm clock, which honks like a tugboat. By 5:30, the Cadillac idled at the curb. Fins glowing soft coral under the street lamp. Jazz filmed our departure on her phone, narrating in a phone news anchor voice. Local widow and rookie filmmaker attempt cross-state escape. Experts predict laughter, tears, and at least one call to roadside assistance. Vicky tossed me a thermos. Cold brew rocket fuel. Don't sip. Commit. I committed, then nearly coughed it back out when Mrs. Lewis appeared with a brown bag. For the road, she muttered. Zucchini bread keeps well. She turned before we could thank her, but gave the Cadillac a quick, almost affectionate pat. 6 o'clock. Odometer set to 0. Route 66, here we come. The desert woke in slow peach tones. Vicky block party homecoming and Vicky's speech rolled the windows down and let Elvis pour from an ancient tape deck. I drove, palms damp, hyper-aware that one twitch might send 59 years of chrome glory into a ditch. Vicky sensed my nerves. Steady hands, Daniel. The car wants to stay upright. Respect her and she'll respect you. Does that work with life too? With stubborn neighbors? Yes. With tomato plants? Not always. We hit our first gas stop outside Benson. An elderly biker gang. Silver beards, neon bandanas, circled the Cadillac like sculptors admiring marble. Sweet Fins, said their leader, who introduced himself only as Popsicle. When Vicky told them we were filming a cross-generational dream run, Popsicle produced a Sharpie and signed the trunk. Ride it like it's borrowed from tomorrow. Jazz zoomed in on the signature, whispering, "Aunt cameo." Back on the highway, Vicky scribbled notes for our documentary. Chapter 1, Unexpected Guardians of the Road. Past Wilcox, the engine coughed. A single hiccup that felt minor until every gauge needle dropped dead. I eased onto the shoulder. Silence swallowed us. The nearest town, Stein's ghost status since the 60s, sat 3 dusty miles east. Vicky opened the hood. Steam hissed. Radiator threw a tantrum. She bit her lip, pulled out her phone. No service. We stared at the empty highway. 2 ants on an ocean of asphalt until a dusty school bus converted into a mobile thrift shop rattled up painted on its side. Roman Ramone's Retro. The driver, a wiry man wearing welding goggles as a headband, leaned out. Engine troubles. Vicky laughed at the understatement. Radiator. I'm Rayon. Tools on board, but I take payment in stories. Perfect trade. While Ramon tightened hoses, Vicky recounted meeting Frank in a diner that smelled of frying okra. Ramon nodded, hands moving like jazz drumsticks. Love stories are better currency than Venmo. 15 minutes later, he slammed the hood. Fill her with water. Drive gentle to the next station. He refused cash, but accepted a lemon bar and a cameo interview for our film. As we merged back onto, Temth whispered, Frank would have loved Rayon. He collected coincidences the way some men collect stamps. I asked, what's your biggest coincidence with Frank? She smiled at the horizon. We were born on the same day, same hospital, 6 hours apart. Didn't meet till 26. He said the universe kept the receipt. By noon, what's next? Documentary trailer Arizona surrendered to New Mexico. Messes rose like rust-cold castles. Jazz live streamed the border crossing. Manny moderated chat back home where unexpectedly a dozen classic car hobbyists were watching. One user named CadKitty66 wrote, if that caddy croaks near Tucumcari, I'm 2 exits away with a flatbed. I rolled my eyes. Internet always exaggerates. Bash shrugged. Hope likes Wi-Fi. We pressed on toward Tucumcari. Heat mirage is shimmying at mile marker 332. The temperature light flared red. 2 minutes later, bang. The Cadillac lurched. A smell like burnt waffles filled the cabin. I coasted into the gravel lot of an abandoned motel whose neon sign still read Dream a while but only flickered. Dream Steam Geyser. Jazz filmed while I tried not to panic. Vicky fanned herself with the registration papers. Dream Detour. Tires crunched behind us. A candy green tow truck rolled up. The flatbed painted with tiny black paw prints. The driver climbed down. A petite woman in coveralls featuring a tabby cat patch. I'm Kitty. So your live stream. She pointed to Jazz's phone. You tagged Tucumcari. I blinked. Cat Kitty 66. Guilty. She assessed the Cadillac with reverence. Radiator's toast. My garage is 6 blocks. I've got a rebuilt core that might fit. Vicky looked stunned. What are the odds? Kitty grinned. Better than winning Powerball. Worse than finding matching socks. She winched the Cadillac aboard. We followed end credits and bloopers in her loaner Jeep plastered with cartoon cats. Kitty's shop felt like a sanctuary. Walls lined with hubcaps, stray cats skulking between tool chests. She and 2 teen interns, brothers who high-fived constantly, went to work. Meanwhile, Jez set up an impromptu interview corner. Cactus backdrop, shop lights humming. Kitty told camera how she started rescuing orphan classics after her dad's Buick died on the same stretch of Route 66. Cars teach persistence. She said they look solid, but every mile changes them. People, too. The brothers installed the radiator with NASCAR speed. Total downtime 1 hour 24 minutes. Vicky insisted on paying. Kitty accepted only the zucchini bread and a promise of a cameo credit. Radiator guardian angel. Before we left, Kitty sprayed the caddy's hood with a mist bottle. Sudden desert sunset reflections shimmered. She's roadworthy, she declared. Just don't race any Mustangs. Vicky kissed Kitty's cheek. Heroes wear grease. Back on the highway near sundown, relief tasted like rainwater. Vicky reclined, humming Returns of Elvis. I asked what she'd thought while steam billowed. I thought, if we stalled forever in that lot, would I regret leaving home? Answer was no. Regret sits in parked cars. I confessed my fear. What if the documentary fails? What if I'm just a kid with hobby footage? She nodded slowly. Daniel, failures are a rest stop, not a cul-de-sac. We grab coffee, then merge back on. Jazz from the back seat shouted quote of the day and scribbled on a post-it which she stuck to the dashboard. Rest stops, not dead ends. Lightning stitched the distant clouds. A monsoon cell trailing us like a jealous rival. We pulled into Tucumcari proper and checked into a neon-lit motel shaped like a teepee replica. The clerk handed real room keys. Metal gloriously heavy. Vicky stretched. Tomorrow, Santa Rosa, then maybe Albuquerque. Mileage flexible, optimism mandatory. Night buzzed with cicadas. Jazz uploaded the day's episode. Ramon, Kitty, the blowout, Vicky's quote. Within minutes, hearts and thumbs surged. My phone lit with a message from Noah. Station crew watching on break. Mom looks happier than chili at a cook-off. Proud of you, too. I sat on the motel's concrete step, warm against my legs, and let that sink in. Somewhere beyond the sodium lamps, the Cadillac rested. Radiator new, hubcaps crowned, signatures etched. One from a stranger named Popsicle, one from hope-wearing kitty paw prints. Vicky emerged, holding 2 motel paper cups filled with vending machine cocoa. She handed me 1 clinked rims. To detours, I echoed overhead. A meteor slashed, burning quick, but long enough for Vicky to spot it. Make a wish, I said. She smiled. Already did at mile marker 0. Mine formed silently. Let the roads stay wild. The film stay honest. And the people we meet keep reminding us why stories matter. Wind smelled of distant rain. Tomorrow's miles waited. And we would chase them. Camera rolling, radiator humming, uncertainties packed snug under the seat, but not this time steering. The sunrise over the motel's fiberglass teepee looked like molten copper. On its slope, the shadow of Vicky's hand made a rough arrow pointing east. Last leg, she whispered, balancing motel coffee and fresh determination. My back felt as stiff as the Cadillac's new radiator bracket, but her grin pried me off the step. Jazz filmed from the hood, narrating our dawn ritual. 3 travelers, 1 pink time machine, 47% battery, infinite optimism. We rolled out of Tucumcari on the old 2-lane, passing faded billboards that once hawked rattlesnake shows and 50-cent pie. Vicky stroked the dash. Frank loved the stretch, said the land looks honest. No tricks, just space. If land could vote, Jazz said this would elect more sky. The engine purred like it had forgiven yesterday's meltdown. Popcorn clouds drifted above. The desert finally exhaled a cool breeze peppered with the smell of creosote. We fell into companionable silence until a sign declared Mesa Blanca Scenic Overlook 1 mile. Vicky tapped my arm. Pull over Frank's photo spot. At the overlook, a stone wall held back a cliff that flushed orange in the rising sun. Vicky produced the Polaroid. We'd found under those broken lawn chairs, the one of her and Frank wearing diner crowns. She lined it against the same horizon, then held my phone beside it. I framed, tapped, save. Her eyes glimmered, part tears, part reflected dawn. Ready? I asked. She shut her eyes, inhaled, nodded. We slid back onto the highway, miles unspooling beneath white sidewalls. By late morning, we hit Santa Rosa. At a dusty filling station, we met a retired Greyhound driver named Millie, who sold Navajo fry bread from the trunk of her decommissioned bus. She insisted the Cadillac needed a blessing. She sprinkled turquoise dust along the hood seam and muttered something about engines listening to stories told in the right language. The Cadillac responded with a modest roar when I turned the key, as if acknowledging new vocabulary. Millie winked. She'll carry you home. In Albuquerque, we shot a fast montage of neon signs and roadside diners. Jazz convinced a ukulele trio to strum Route 66 while skateboarding around the car. A cop gave us exactly 10 minutes before ticketing. We rapped and ate, high-fived, and peeled away to polite applause from diners munching green chili cheeseburgers. By dusk, thunderheads masked like gray battleships. Vicky reclined and murmured, "Storm escort." Lightning forked behind us, lighting the tail fins with paparazzi flashes. Jazz stuck the GoPro out the vent window. "If this doesn't make the trailer, I retire." On the state line, we saw a mural. "Endless roads begin at home." Vicky pointed. "Detour." I obeyed. The side road arced through sunflower fields buzzing with cycas, finally merging with the interstate near a sign for Tucson. Our circle almost closed. She exhaled. Time to go back. 90 hours after departure, Sycamore Drive surfaced like a forgotten childhood song. The Cadillac coasted in neutral. Jazz shot out of the sunroof with her mic live feed. Operation Homecoming. My stomach thumped. What if the neighborhood shrugged? They didn't. String lights braided every fence post. Lawn chairs lined both curbs. Manny's postal trike now sported bubble machines. Cody's go-kart carried a cardboard camera crane, and front centers stood Mrs. Lewis' clipboard replaced by a wooden easel hiding something draped in burlap. When the Cadillac stopped, the crowd erupted. I killed the engine. Silence rushed in thick with expectation. Vicky stepped out first, smoothing road crease jeans. Mrs. Lewis marched up, a tape measure dangling like a lanyard of authority. "Victoria," she began, voice level, 90 days ago. Article 7, Section 2, predicted disaster. She tugged the burlap free. Underneath, a hand-painted sign read, "Best Garden and Community Spirit Award." Plastic sunflowers framed the text. A tiny Cadillac diecast sat glued at the corner. Guests then cheers. Vicky's hand fluttered to her chest. "Lois, are you?" "Don't make me repeat myself," Lois said. But her eyes sparkled. "Your vines still violate height code, but beauty counts." She faced me. "Your film convinced the board. They want a copy for the neighborhood archive. Volume tested, of course." She thrust a flash drive into my palm. 7 dibbles under limit. Vicky hugged her so abruptly the clipboard clattered to the pavement. Lois stiffened, then patted Vicky's back twice and muttered, "Easy my hip." Noah's fire engine rolled up, horn whooping. Off-duty firefighters unloaded a grill the size of a small submarine. Noah jumped down, tossing a spatula. "Burgers on me." "Mom, tell them about the Cadillac's new radiator. They're betting it cost more than the boat we almost bought." While Vicky recounted Rayon and Kitty, I opened the trunk and set up the projector against our freshly tamed hedge. Jazz plugged in a hard drive labeled Final Cut. Dreams don't retire. Kids spread blankets. Adults balanced lemonade glasses. Manny handed out stamped popcorn bags that read first-class feature presentation. Just before I hit play, Vicky touched my elbow. "Whatever happens next, festivals, views, missed payments. You gave this story wings. You gave me roads," I answered. The film rolled. 5 minutes of laughter, steam, ukuleles, thunderstorms, cats, Popsicle's autograph, Kitty's paw print trailer, Millie's turquoise dust, and Vicky's voice telling the universe she was finished stalling. When the credits listed every neighbor, stray cat and cactus cameo, applause thundered off stucco walls. Noah raised his spatula like a scepter. Speech. Vicky climbed onto the Cadillac's bumper. "Frank once said, 'Memories are spare tires. You hope you never need them, but they'd better be full.' Thanks to Daniel, Jazz, and the kindness of strangers, I've got 4 brand new tires and a trunk full of fresh memories." And to Lois. She waved at the award sign. "Turns out rules can bloom." Lois gave a half bow, half shrug, and joined the applause. Jazz whispered, "Now you." The crowd turned. My pulse sprinted. But Vicky's nod steadied me. I came here 3 months ago thinking nobody would care if my camera ran or rusted. Vicky proved stories find their audience when people find each other. So next month, the documentary goes public online. Views or no views, it belongs to everyone who ever thought a dream expired. Cody punctuated with an air horn. Laughter burst like confetti. The grill smoked. Music floated. Elvis blending with ukulele and distant cicadas. I slipped away to Vicky's yard, where tomato vines now climbed neat trellises. From my backpack, I pulled a seedling grown from the first tomato she'd rescued. I dug a shallow hole, pressed the fragile roots into the loam, and whispered, "Grow, don't stall." Footsteps crunched. Vicky knelt beside me, pushing soil around the stem. "Frank loved volunteer plants," she said. "Said they choose their own plot like dreamers," I whispered. She smiled. "Sundays vinyl and pruning," I agreed. Jazz snapped a candid. The two of us, dirt-fingered, heads bowed over new green life. In her frame, the street lights haloed us. Behind the Cadillac's chrome reflected fireworks of party sparklers. I heard Vicky murmur, half to herself, half to the wind. "Age is mileage. Trust is the destination." Camera shutters clicked. Toasts rose. Meteors streaked somewhere far over the saguaros. And in that glow, I felt every mile we'd driven settle into place. Not as weight, but as ballast, keeping our little ship upright for whatever highway unreeled.